Welcome everyone. My name is Brittany and I'm excited to be back for our Raising Special Kids Here for Families Facebook Live session. Thank you for joining us. I'm glad that you guys could jump on at 2:30 today for this special Facebook Live session where we're going to be talking about behavioral supports and tools to help your children at home. Thank you for those that are just jumping on. You're welcome to say hi. I will be watching the chat for questions and comments as we get going. But first, I wanted to talk about raising special kids and what we've been up to lately. So as you can imagine, we've been busy helping families. School is back in session for the January quarter, and parents are virtual learning with their children at home, and some are in person, but we are supporting and helping families navigate special education questions, calling for advice on behaviors, which is one of the reasons why we created this topic for today, questions about guardianship, really, all different challenges and questions that families have. We've been busy helping them. We also have exciting news. We are creating and launching a new website for Raising Special Kids. So stay tuned for that in February. It's very beautiful. It's going to be easy to navigate and a great tool for families for resources and support. We also are launching our tax credit campaign soon. More on that later, but it's an easy way to donate to the organization and you get that money back on your taxes. So stay tuned for that as well. And we're so grateful for the support that we continually have for our community from Raising Special Kids. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest today. I'm excited that Janna Murrell, our Assistant Executive Director at Raising Special Kids, is back with me today. And we are going to be talking about positive behavior support tools, techniques, and resources to help you with your children at home. As you all know, myself included, having children during this pandemic, our kids, some of them have had a hard time. The schedules have changed, virtual learning challenges, maybe some of their services were paused or disrupted. And for some of our kids with disabilities, it has increased behaviors. And it's hard on them, it's hard on our families, it's hard on us as parents. And we've been getting a lot of calls into Raising Special Kids, and our family support specialist team has been helping. So we felt it was timely to tackle this topic. So Janna, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to do this with you today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brittany. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to participate again.
Thanks. Okay, so Janna, I've collected some questions we've been hearing from families. So I think I'll just kind of go down the list and ask you, and you can share your wisdom and resources as we go.
Sounds good.
Okay, so what are the services and supports that Raising Special Kids offers to support parents and children who are struggling?
So many of you that are familiar with Raising Special Kids, you're really probably very familiar with all of the supports and services that we offer, but one of the things that's very unique to this particular challenge for families is individual consultation, and that's working directly with one of our family support staff that's another parent that's had a shared lived experience, and that assistance with problem solving and kind of figuring out what are some my next best steps for managing my child's behavior, but also what's really unique about that is being able to first express the frustration to a person that has an empathetic ear, someone that's there to listen and be able to acknowledge and say, absolutely, with 100% compassion, I completely understand what you're going through. And then be able to help that parent move forward with next steps on problem solving. So individual consultation and problem solving with our family support staff is one of our most utilized resources that we can offer to families. And we're here, we're answering calls and helping families all day long. And so families can refer themselves directly through our website. They can reach out and give us a phone call. Either way, we're here to help.
Thank you. And I definitely understand that there's nothing like talking to either another parent raising a child with a disability or just someone who understands. It's very comforting. And I know right now we could all use that empathy for what we're going through. Okay. So do you have any practical tools or suggestions families can use at home to work with their child?
Absolutely. So, one of the most frustrating things I think for parents is whenever you're struggling, when your child is struggling with a lot of difficult behaviors, your brain is really focused in just redirection mode. So, it's hard for us to carve out time and look for complicated resources and try to educate ourselves about strategies and things like that when you're in the midst of a tantrum, or if your child is really struggling and they're on the floor in front of you. They're definitely, it's hard to find a resource when you're in that space in your brain. So I think one of the most practical tools that we like to share with families is, first of all, taking a breath. And then on our Raising Special Kids website, we have some really, really great, easy to use tools that are tracking tools. And those can be items that easy sheets that you can download directly from our website, to where families can start tracking their child's difficult routines. Because whenever we start thinking about what are some strategies that we can use to help kind of manage our child's difficult behavior, we have to really understand when are those difficult routines. And if we are in that space in our mind where I feel like my child is behaving bad all the time, it's hard to be able to really target those individual areas. And once we understand that, then we can build from that. We can build some kind of interventions and strategies that families can use during those routines, so they can kind of start nudging some of that difficult behavior and seeing a decrease in, maybe in frequency, but also in kind of the elevation of that behavior. So Raising Special Kids website, and then also talking with one of our staff about kind of how to step through that process. And it's also, one of those things that's helpful is whenever you do have someone on the other end of the phone to help you understand the value of tracking behaviors. Because again, so many times when we're tired, we're just like, Janna, I don't have time to take a shower today. I don't have time to track. But really, we need to take the time to track, because then we can actually do some things and target and manage behaviors.
That's such good advice. Thank you. And I wanted you guys to know that in the chat, we have posted the links to our behavior support section on the website, where you can download and print out some of those tools. And I've actually used these personally several years ago. Even though my daughter's nonverbal and has cerebral palsy, she was having this time of day where she would always have these horrible tantrums. And so our neurologist started, it's not as official as our sheets, but he had me start tracking, and we figured out she was having a hard time during transitions. And then we were able
Yeah.
to do some calming techniques and kind of rearrange her therapy schedule to help her break through some of that, those difficult times. And it really did help. So,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So we have a wonderful positive behavior support training at Raising Special Kids. Janna, can you kind of go over that and give us some highlights about the class?
Absolutely. I love that class so much. It's the nice thing is now we're offering it virtually, so families can participate. We offer positive behavior support training at least once a month, and we offer it in English and Spanish. It's typically about 90 minutes to 2 hours long. It just kind of depends if we have a lot of folks that are attending and they have a lot of questions. But the nice thing about our positive behavior support training is it really helps parents understand, first, the philosophy of positive behavior support. So what is that? And help me understand what that means. I mean, we hear those words a lot, but what does that really mean? So we help parents understand what is the philosophy, and then we really dig in with families and help them take a step back and try to figure out, or help the parent define strategies to identify what is the function of their child's behavior. So in other words, have we ever stopped and taken a step back and thought, why is my kid doing this? What is going on? Is it something that they can actually control? Or is it something that we can address? Is it where they're trying to gain access to something? Are they trying to avoid something? So that's another really critical piece of that training. The other nice thing about it is you're joined with other families. So you get to hear, that collective knowledge, and then also that collective experience of, hearing from other families that they're struggling as well with certain behaviors. So there's also the value, again, of the shared lived experience that families are getting to have the benefit of. And then the other thing is we kind of walk through, once we understand what is the function of our child's behavior, then we help the parent actually identify ways to build some interventions and strategies in their day so that they can implement enough changes to where they can start managing their child's difficult behaviors. The beauty of it is too, is when we're talking through it, we're helping them with tools too that they can use right away. Things like organizing space and time, understanding environments, how they can be challenging for some of our kids, especially our kids that have sensory impairments. And so when we step through that training, that there are actually some tools that parents get in their toolbox whenever they're done with the training that they can implement right away.
Thank you so much. And our training calendar is filling up. And like Janna said, we do offer this monthly, and it's easy to attend right now because it's virtual still. So check out, I know the February calendar is already up. So head to our website and register for this class. It's really beneficial. And it's also comforting just to be there with other parents, like you said, that are in your shoes too. So Janna, in the beginning, I mentioned that, the pandemic has brought a lot of stress for families, and a lot of that has been in relation to school. So, we've been getting calls quite often on, my child's having escalating behaviors because of virtual learning. What do I do? How do I work with my child's school team? So do you have any suggestions surrounding that?
Yeah, absolutely. Communication with your child's school team, opening up those lines, talking about what are some of the challenges your child is facing, and asking for help from your child's teacher about what are some different kind of uh, tricks that they might be able to infuse into their child's day so that they can begin to have a little bit more success with virtual learning. The other thing is talking with other families that are going through the same types of experiences and really listening to some of the tools that they're using. The other piece of it is giving yourself the giving yourself permission to know that this is hard. It's hard for you as a family. It's hard for your child. It's hard for your child's teacher. That giving everyone permission to have some grace, that we're all just trying to do the best we can. And then also the other thing is remembering that our children, just like us as grownups, need wiggle time. We need time to get the wiggles out. We need time for our kids need time to be able to step outside. They need time to be able to step away from their screen and go ride their bike or take a walk or just to get some fresh air. And I think that we put a lot of pressure on all of ourselves, to stay so focused because we have to get this homework done, that sometimes we lose those moments, and many times those moments for natural learning in natural environments that are away from the computer are equally and sometimes even more valuable. So just kind of infusing more breaks in your child's day, talking with other families, increasing your communication with your child's team, and then also giving everyone permission just to sometimes not have a great day.
That's such a good point. I read somewhere that, as adults, we have bad days. We may feel like we failed or say something we didn't mean or act under stress, and our kids do too. And sometimes, expecting perfection, isn't realistic, and it's okay to chalk it up to this is a bad day and we're trying the best we can and then move forward. So I like that you brought that up.
Absolutely. There's some real value in accepting imperfection.
Definitely true. So, Janna, a lot of our families, as you know, have services through the Department of Developmental Disabilities, or DDD. Um, there are, we know that there are supports that can be added to their plan to help with behaviors and possible services. Could you go over that a little bit?
Absolutely. So this is another area that if you're a family and your child is eligible for services through the Division of Developmental Disabilities, then you do have a support coordinator. And I would also, I would always recommend that you increase your communication with your child support coordinator, and share with them if you're having challenges, or if you need additional, if you need to request the consideration of having additional hours added for respite, so that you can have a break. If you need to talk with your support coordinator to see if there are any flexibilities for additional hours in attendant care, so that you not only get it, that your child is also getting additional help from a provider. And then the other piece of it is realizing that this is a moment in time, and that there can be a change in an ISP due to a change in a child and family's life. And so by opening up the lines of communication with your child support coordinator and explaining, this is what our day looks like now, and it looks entirely different than it did 90 days ago, or even 120 days ago when we originally wrote this. So how can we come up with some creative solutions, or maybe infuse some additional home and community-based services, so that we can have a little bit more of some balance in our day. The other thing is, if your child is eligible for home or habilitation hours, it's always kind of a fun strategy to think about kind of changing up their habilitation goals that are appropriate for living in a pandemic. So many times habilitation goals are things that are done out in the community. So perhaps it's that we need to readjust our habilitation goals so that we're still doing things and making a difference in increasing our child's ability to be more independent, but we need to nudge those and make them look more appropriate in the pandemic, or during this season of all of our lives right now. And because those goals that we wrote before, if they involve going to the grocery store and making a list and things like that, that's probably not an appropriate goal for now. Maybe it's, we want to make a list online to go grocery shopping online. And so it's just paying attention, again, increasing communication, and then asking the question, are there any additional flexibilities that we as a family can get some additional support and help with?
Thank you. And for parents listening in, if you need help or some coaching on how to talk to your support coordinator, or some ideas, for different habilitation goals and how to adapt them, please call us. We are happy to walk through, your child's ISP with you and give you some tips on how to talk to your support coordinator about this. So don't forget, Raising Special Kids, we can help you with this. And DDD, like you said, there are some great services, and that is such a good point. We're not going to the grocery store, but learning to shop online is important too.
Value of money. Hey.
Yeah.
The other thing in that too, Brittany, and I'm so glad that you brought that up, is that I just think that the other thing is that whenever we are thinking about changing goals and rewriting goals and thinking about that type of thing, a lot of times we as parents, I don't know how to write a goal. I don't know what would, so we need some help with that sometimes. So that's a great suggestion, to reach out to Raising Special Kids. I know that was hard for me as a mom, especially when my son was a lot younger. Someone would ask me, well, what are your goals for him? Well, I would be like, I want him to be able to eat with a spoon. I want him to be able to do these things. But yet it was really helpful to have someone come alongside me and help me identify what are some practical goals that make sense, that are a little easier to attain in a shorter period of time, so you feel some success. So ask for help whenever we're writing goals, because that can be kind of hard.
Definitely. Thank you so much. We hear this question often as well, so I'm just going to read it to you. My child has access, or Altex, Arizona Long-Term Care. I know we have behavioral health benefits, but I'm not sure what that might include. So we hear this often. So can you kind of talk about what some of those benefits are and what parents can do to access them?
So so that's a kind of a big question. So under access, behavioral health services that relate. So I'm gonna break this into two parts. Okay. So many of the families that we serve have a child with a diagnosis of autism. And so under access, or if your child is eligible for all texts. So you can have a child that's eligible for access because they've been determined eligible financially. And then you can also have a child that's eligible for access, Arizona long-term care, where they have an eligibility determination that's because of their disability. So under that access umbrella, specific to autism, ABA therapy is a covered benefit under access through the behavioral health system, and the health plans, United Healthcare Community Plan and Mercy Care, have providers that families can actually utilize their access health plan to get ABA therapy for their young children. For that, typically whenever families are wanting to use their access health plan for ABA therapy for their young children, there is a requirement for there to be a prescription written by their primary care physician and an evaluation done by a certified BCBA. So that is something that can be covered through their access health plan. That's specific to autism. However, we also know that many of the families that have children that do not have an autism diagnosis, but perhaps have a diagnosis of ADHD or anxiety disorder, and they need counseling, that's included in their behavioral health coverage through their access health plan. The family can also utilize family counseling. They can request behavior coaching. So there's a lot of different services that are available through the access health plans now that are specific to behavioral health. And the one underutilized, I guess not feature, but part of what families I think sometimes get frustrated about is utilize your member services number with your child's health plan. Member services for both the health plan, for all of the health plans, are an underutilized resource. So if a family's struggling finding a provider or anything like that, call member services. That's what they're there to help you with. Plus the two major health plans that are for our DD long-term care eligible members, Mercy Care and United Healthcare, they also have liaisons, DDD liaisons with both health plans that can help families navigate through that. So if there's ever any question whatsoever, we can help you at Raising Special Kids find out who that person is and get you connected, or reach out to your member services plan and ask for that particular person so they can help you navigate through that.
Thank you. So for example, if I wanted to find out where my daughter was assigned what behavioral health agency, I would just call member services and they already assign her to an agency. Is that how it works?
Yes. Okay. That's a great question. So they do. And so sometimes there's some confusion. And so what a behavioral health agency is, they're a contracted agency that kind of is the captain of the ship for the family. So they coordinate all those behavioral health services. And so those might be, an agency like for example, Touchstone or Southwest Behavior or Jewish Family Services. They're behavioral health agencies. And what we also hear them called is a behavioral health home. That's the equivalent. It's the same thing. And if we think about in the physical health side of the world, you have a health home. What we would call your primary care physician, and they're your captain of your ship for your physical health. So your behavioral health agency is your behavioral health home. So they're the ones that's going to coordinate all those services that are identified that child and family need.
Thank you for defining that, because I know that can be a source of confusion. And I liked how you explained, they're the captain of the ship, because sometimes when you hear home, automatically there's a misperception from families.
Yeah.
So thank you for, going over that for us. So you talked, somewhat about what behavioral health agencies do. I know that when families, when their child starts receiving care, they will have a CFT team. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, CFT is a child family team, and what the function of that group is. These are all of the people, all of the representatives from the different agencies that are coordinating together to ensure that all of the behavioral health needs of this particular child and family are met. And that's why it's called a child family team, because it's not just specific to the child, it's also for the family as well. Because we know that anytime a behavioral health concern is identified, it impacts the whole entire family, and helping understand how to navigate and respond to some of those types of environments, it requires additional training even for the family, to continue to have success in managing behaviors, and also expectations for behaviors. So that's a critical piece of it too. So a child family team is that team that coordinates. It's a representative from all the different agencies that are coordinating what the team has agreed that what that particular child needs at that point in their life. One distinction that I'd like to also make with the child family team is those meetings can happen anytime it's needed. So it's not that, oh, we only do this every 90 days or we only do this every 30 days. It's anytime that it is needed. So that's another distinction about a child family team.
And Janna, if a parent wanted to call a meeting because there was a concern happening, are they able to do so?
Absolutely. They would reach out to their case manager. As soon as they are assigned to a behavioral health agency, they also receive a case manager, and that person would be their point of contact, and they would help coordinate that with the family.
Okay, perfect. So let's move on to the next question. Do you have suggestions for parents in dealing with behaviors and the stress they might be under? How do we cope? How do we get through this as parents? What are some things we can do, to manage stress?
Yeah. Because what's the first thing we want to do? A lot of times, the first thing we want to do, or maybe kind of enter into some really unhealthy habits for coping. I think the biggest thing that we can do as parents is exercise a lot of self-care, acknowledging, number one, first of all, that you're not perfect. We talked about that earlier. Acknowledging that this is a really challenging time for everyone, and for you too as a parent, that this has not happened in our lifetime, and that it really truly is hard. And then also, right now in this environment we live in now, the resources that exist for families to access self-care is over the moon. There is so much good stuff out there, even on our Raising Special Kids website, on our COVID page. I know that, Brittany, you've done such a great job of highlighting that for families to be aware about it. There's also a great section in there on self-care, and it talks a lot about, it is just critical for us as parents to be able to, again, give ourselves permission to not be perfect, give ourselves permission if we're not going to get our hair done that day, it's okay. And then also do the little things that bring you joy. I often joke about, I share with all of you, our staff, so many times we talk about how important it is for us as family support specialists or human service providers to exercise a lot of self-care. And one of the things that I do, and especially when we were meeting in our office, and we're not getting to do that, so I miss seeing you in person. But every Sunday, whenever I would go to the grocery store and buy groceries for the week, I would always pick up a little tiny bouquet of flowers. I would drag it into the office with me on Monday mornings. And that was one of the little things. So I'm not talking about, when you think about self-care, it's the little things that bring you joy, the little nuggets, the sprinkles that you put on your donut every day that just kind of remind you that you are important and you're valuable, and the health and well-being of you as the parent is critical for your child to be able to be healthy and to be able to not completely absorb all of the stress that we're feeling. So many times, one of the things that we know about children's behavior is that when they sense and feel our anxiety, and when it just comes out of us, that's just how it happens. And so whenever they absorb that, then that can cause a lot of unmanageable behaviors, because they're feeling insecure and unsafe and worried too, and they really don't know how to cope or tell you. So whenever they see us exercising healthy ways to cope with our stress, I'm going to go take a walk. or I'm going to go ride my bike, or I'm going to put oranges in my water, or, what are the things that we do that bring us joy and help us cope? This is the time to really, really amp that up.
That's so true. And it looks different for everyone. I've been
Mhm.
told over the course of my daughter's life, you have self-care. And I admit, Janna, sometimes I'm like, and when am I going to do that?
Exactly.
But finding little ways, it took me many years to actually give myself permission to do that. But mine is going on a walk. And I admit, since the pandemic, I've walked hundreds of miles in the 3 mile loop
Mhm.
around my neighborhood, but
Mhm.
it's helped my stress level so much. And just that, 30 minutes or 45 minutes or whatever has helped me cope with whatever I have to face the rest of the day. And so parents listening in, you don't have to spend hours at the gym, or we don't expect you to, not all of us get full night's sleep. I don't,
Right.
but it's
That's
just the little
right.
things. So I'm glad you brought that up, because it's
Yeah.
important. And I would say too, and I'm sure you agree, if counseling is needed for you, if you feel like
Yes.
you're at that point, call us, because we have resources and support groups and so much, we can connect you with as parents to help you get through this tough time too.
Oh, great point. Thank you for saying that, Brittany, because actually, yes, that is so critical. Give yourself permission to ask for help. And there is so much courage in asking for help. And we can help connect you. Seeking out also, a support group, or, if you want to access family counseling or counseling just for yourself, those are all definite resources that we can help you get access to.
Yes, and I wanted to share, we had a parent comment. Thank you, Lucy. She shared that, many of us in the community, we have anxiety from being separated with our kids that have, intense medical issues or disabilities. And she said it was just a good topic for her to work through this year. Because at some point, if our kids are able to go back to school, if that's what your district is doing, that may be a time for you to have that break. But that it's important, even if we have children with intense issues, that we have to find a way to have self-care. So thank you.
Yeah,
We definitely agree with you.
good.
To wrap things up, I know we could talk about this topic all day, but to wrap things up, Janna, I just wanted to ask you, what are some other resources in the community for families, for behavior support and parents and helping them cope?
Yes, we have a state that is full of wonderful community-based organizations that provide a lot of family support for families that are struggling with behavioral health issues. NAMI, the National Alliance for Mental Illness, has a wonderful parent training class called NAMI Basics. And if you have a child with a behavioral health diagnosis, that particular parent training is beautiful because it teaches you how to understand your child's brain and how you can manage your own expectations and responses and things like that, to where it improves your relationship with your child. And so the NAMI Basics parent class is wonderful. My Kid is another organization that provides a lot of support groups, and resources, behavioral health resources, for families. Family Involvement Center is another wonderful organization that provides so many family support resources. Um, I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Support groups as well. They provide some for peer support for some particular families. There's just some other really there are other support groups that exist out there are some that are diagnosis specific. So if you're looking for a certain kind of support group and you need some help finding one in your particular area and you wanted it specific to your child's diagnosis, we could help you access that too.
Thank you. We are so fortunate to have all these resources. And I think sometimes parents just need to know what they are, because they exist
Yeah.
and they're out there. So thank you so much. And thank you for joining us today and giving us so many tips and guidance and hope, that we can get through this, and some tools for our parents that are listening in. I'm really grateful you could be here today, Janna.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And for everyone listening in, for our families and our community, just know that Raising Special Kids is here. We're thinking about you. We know behavioral challenges can be stressful, and we're here for you. We want to help. Please call our office at 602-242-4366. Talk to a family support specialist, sign up for a positive behavior support class, and just know that you're not alone and that we want to help. And with that, everyone have a good weekend.